know,
some version of it.
so tell me about how you got acquainted with Jeannie and that whole journey with Jeannie, because she was crazy
Oh
about you.
goodness, that's in back in the late 90s. Um, I was my husband was on staff at First Baptist Pigeon Forge, and we lived there. And so I worked at a hospital in Knoxville at the time, and the hospital asked me to be the chairman of the United Way drive, the United Way campaign for the hospital. And so they sent me over to the University of Tennessee to a luncheon for the Knoxville area kickoff for United Way. And Jeannie was the speaker that day, and I'd never heard her. She was very good friends with the women's athletic director at UT, and she had asked her to come and speak. And this was when Jeannie was first getting started with, doing a lot of her speaking and everything. And she told the baton story, the story about the baton twirler and the beauty pageant,
Oh, I know that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's one of her best ones. And she told, several of her stories. Hang on. That is, I turned my phone off, but that is my glucose alarm going off, but I'll be fine.
Well, Lord, don't pass out on us now.
No, it's high, but I can fix it when I can get some insulin when I get off. But anyway, so I went to this thing and I heard her for the first time that day. And I had already been doing some speaking just in churches and things. And my big deal is Bible study. I lead Bible studies, and I love to teach the Bible. I love to study the Bible and teach the Bible, but I always like to make it fun. And so because I think people learn better when they have good illustrations and they can remember things. And so I had always had this style of making it fun, and doing deep Bible study, but making it fun. So when I left there that day, I really was changed. I mean, it changed things about me. I thought, that's how I want to be. I want to have that style. And so I started following her, and I 2 or 3 times I went wherever she was speaking and heard her speak and things like that. And she meant so much to me that I read a little book, and it was just a lot of fun. And I mailed it to her and said, you just can't imagine what you mean to me. Well, she sent me a note back, and I thought, it was like meeting a movie star or something, I mean, it was just great for me. And so for 30 something years, I followed her, watched her. And then when she did the videos, I just, all those videos on YouTube, I watched every one of them. And she just was kind of my role model, for things I wanted to do. So everybody knew it. I talked about her a lot. And so my Sunday school class, which was a group of senior adult women, my Sunday school class said, Debbie, when she announced her contest in 2018, they all said, you've got to enter her contest, because by then they knew all my stories, and because I'd use my stories in my Bible studies. And so she said, and I could always use it as an illustration of something, So they all said, you've got to enter this contest. So I finally just said, okay. In fact, one of them filled out the paperwork for me and everything. She said, you're going to do this. So I said, well, I can't do this without an audience. I can't do a video without an audience. This is even hard for me to just tell a story now with just you. I got to have a crowd. I feed on the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
So I just made an announcement at church one Sunday and said, I'm going to do a comedy show. I need an audience. And I thought I might have 20 or 30 people there. I got there and there was packed. There was 200 and something people there.
Debbie, that's awesome.
Our church. And I had a ball. The more they laughed, the more I told. I ended up being about 2 hours of recorded time, of me telling these stories. So it went over so well. And so I sent it in thinking, if nothing else, maybe she'll just, I didn't care about the prize money. I just wanted to be able to perform with her, because that was one of the prizes. You got prize money, but you also got to be on stage with her at whichever one of her shows you wanted. You got to open for her. So this went on and went on and went on. And finally, my grandson was graduating from the Marine Corps basic training in Parris Island. And so we drove over for his graduation, and we had rented a house, and we were sitting there and the phone rang, and I picked it up, and it was Aaron one of the Nashville people. And she said, Al McCree wants to talk to you. So I get on the phone with Al. And then Al said, okay, somebody here wants to tell you something. And Jeannie got on the phone and she said, you won. And so we met on the phone actually. And so we talked and that was just the greatest day for me, just the greatest day. And so then I wanted to meet her because I knew I would be so starstruck when I actually met her that I didn't want the show I was doing. I chose the Athens, Georgia show. And I didn't want that to be the first time I actually met her because I knew I was going to be starstruck. So I drove to Charleston. And I saw her in her show in Charleston. That's where I got to meet her. She took me back to her dressing room and I felt like a queen. She introduced me to the crowd that night. And then after we went out to dinner. And from then on, we just got to be friends. And then of course, I saw her again in Athens. And then I went over to her house for one of her back porch shows. And it got to where we talked about once a week. And
Debbie.
We talked about everything in the world. And of course, that was during the time that Jerry was sick. And so she was, I would pray for Jerry and, we'd talk about that on the phone and we just talked about everything and just got to be really close friends. And
oh my goodness,
I miss her every day.
I'm telling you, I'm with you. Just one of these.
I have a hard time wrapping my head around it.
I do too. I remember when I got the phone call and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was speaking at a church in Huntsville, Alabama, and staying in a hotel there. And I got a text from Norma Rose. Yeah. And she just said Jeannie just passed. And I was just in shock. I mean, in shock.
We all were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I
love that Norma Rose, honey. Isn't she the best?
Oh, wonderful.
I'm gonna try to get her on here.
You have to.
I know it. She's not technologically savvy.
No, she's not. You'd have Patrick could help her.
Patrick can do it. Yeah. Patrick could if I got him involved in that. But yeah, she was just somebody to really study. I mean, when you look at what she brought to the table, her work ethic, her creativity, to ability
it was her life. I mean, that was her life. Yeah, it's
true.
And if you're going to do it at the level where she was, it has to be your life. It really does. And
you are so right at that. It's got to be a 24/7 passion.
Yeah. And it never could be that for me. I wanted it to be, but it just wasn't the life I was supposed to have. I have thought about it a lot in recent years. Why would God let me win the contest and then not lead me in that direction, but lead me in another direction? And I have finally come up with it that it is just that was just God's gift to me. God just gave me that gift because he knew when she was going to die. And so it was his gift to me to let me have a couple of years, getting to know her and enjoying her, because I really had, I had just worshiped her from afar for so many years.
And I think you were a gift to her.
So I got to where I could run stories by her, how do you think this would work? And she'd call me sometimes and say, you think this will work? So that was just an extra special thing
well, that's an honor, I'll tell you that, because she did that with her core group, the platform professionals, but not many people got to hear and help her massage a story.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one time she had lunch with me and she wanted me to help her talk like she's from New York. How wrong? I'm from New York. And I went through it and she said, I can't hear it. I can't hear it. I said, just say, think of Hawaii and say, Hawaii.
Yeah.
I said, just think about that. I don't know why.
Yeah, she did have a couple of stories. I think the one about the where she ends up putting the pants over her shoulder.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, I think she uses a New York accent in that one. So